In the Yazidis' religion we read, the Yazidis represent an accurate image of the ancient Indo-Aryan societies and their sun-related religion. They were known by names that all mean the sun-related ones. They sanctified the sun with a unique sanctity and considered it a manifestation of the image of the greatest God, the god Mithra, the great creator, the son of the gods and the greatest source of light, energy and vitality that gives life to beings. After the siege of Mithraism and the dispersion of its followers, Mithra became known by his Aramaic name Peacock King, Taus Malik. He is the creator of light and fire. Taus Malik is the sun god of the Yazidis, as we've said, Peacock King. The name means Peacock King. He began creation from water, and the throne of Yazdin God was above it, and the universe was water vapor dominated by darkness. Then he created the pearl from the light of his essence, and it is like an egg, and he left it for 40,000 or 90,000 years. Then he put the spirit into it, but it trembled from his majesty, and it exploded, and the sea froze, and from it came forth a thick smoke that covered the 7 layers of the heavens. He decorated it with nebulae, galaxies, and celestial bodies, and he fixed the earth in place with mountains and rocks. And he decorated it with plants. See that? He fixed the earth in place with mountains and rocks, so the mountains act as pegs. He decorated it with nebula, galaxies, and celestial bodies. This is exactly like the stuff that we've seen with the Greeks. This is similar to the stuff that we've seen with the Zoroastrians. Inside of the egg, the planets existed, and with the explosion of the egg, let's say, or with the cracking of the egg, the planets were put into orbit, and the spirits of the planets resided over these planets, basically. He decorated it, and thick smoke came out of the sea. From it 7 layers of earth and heaven were formed. So the earth is also 7 layers. My god Yazdan brought out the pearl from the sea. From it flowed abundant water. It became a vast sea. My God traveled in this world. He created trees and mountains which formed the anchors of the world. Okay, so the mountains and the trees are pegs that hold the earth in place. The cave on which the Lalish temple, the Yazidi temple, is located, which is known as the cave of Sheikh Adi bin Musafir, or Uday bin Musafir, or the Yazidi cave. This cave and its flowing spring were a site where the god Mithra and the goddess of springs Anahita were worshipped. These two were worshipped together, the sun god and the Venus, sun god Mithra and Anahita, that's Venus, were worshipped together. Sheikh Adi took it as a hermitage for his worship. The discovered Mithraic temple, the shrine of Sheikh Adi, consisting of 3.3 meter long, above which is the throne. So it has a 3.3 meter long platform. Above it is the throne of Mithra, sloping downwards, close to the shape of a bull's head, and with a niche facing north. On the western side of the room, a large temple building was built of stone and plaster. This building is known as the shrine, which contains 7 niches, which refer to the 7 gods, the 7 angels, and the 7 planets. See that? The 7 angels and the 7 planets. God, when he created the world, meaning the hidden sun, when he created the world, he created the planets and the spirits of those planets. The 7 niches are also a feature of European Mithraic temples. Each of these niches is dedicated to a Mithraic god, and to a decree of the 7 degrees of clergy, each accompanied by its own planet, its associated metal, and its own day. See that? The planets. Each planet has its own metal and its own day. There is a disagreement about Mithra's birth. Some myths make him the son of the goddess Anahita, so the sun god is the son of Venus. An ancient inscription was found in one of her temples in the city of in western Iran, describing her with the following words: Anahita the Virgin, the pure, the mother of the Lord Mithra. Anahita is described as a virgin. Okay, this is similar to what Khalid Miran told us about Venus. Other myths state that he was born in a cave and that he split the rock and emerged from it. His birth occurred on the 25th of December. When the shepherds saw him, they came to him with gifts, acknowledged his divinity, worshipped him, and named him the sun god. The sun god Lord Mithra was born in a cave on the 25th of December. When shepherds saw him, they came to him with gifts and acknowledged his divinity. Does this remind you of something? Jesus Christ was deified. Okay? He was an ordinary human being and he was later deified. We're going to talk about this. I have a whole chapter on this. The day of his birth is the winter equinox. They said that the sun Mithra was freed from the grip of Ahriman on this day. And because he was an enemy of Ahriman and his conqueror, his worship acquired great importance among the Iranian people, who bestowed many myths on Mithra, including that he would one day collide with the sacred bull of Hermes and kill him, and his blood would spread over the earth, and he would become the cause of and source of life. So the bull, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we've said that the bull resembles the sun. And so the bull is being sacrificed, and his blood falls on the earth, marking the beginning of creation. Right? This is according to the Mithraic belief. This is the religion pre-Zoroastrianism in Iran. And this is very interesting. When we were reading from the Greek sources, if you guys remember, we were reading from the Greek sources, we said, this is going to take a while apparently. Uranus, you know what? I don't think I can find it at the moment. No, here it is. Remember what we said? Gaia, emerging from the primeval chaos. This is from the Greek sources. From Gaia's union with her son Uranus were born the Titans. She appealed to them for vengeance, but Cronus only responded with a Scythe. Cronus castrated Uranus as he approached Gaia. From the drops of Uranus' blood that fell on earth were born the Furies, the giants, etc., the nymphs. And from his genitalia, the goddess Aphrodite emerged, right? From his genitalia which fell on earth, which fell into the sea, Venus was created. This is the same stuff, this is the same story. Okay, the story that we're reading is the same story. The bull, which symbolizes the sun, represents the sun, just like Uranus, which is the sky, resembles the sun, was slaughtered. His blood fell on the earth and marked the beginning of creation. We find traces of the sacrifice of the bull in the sacred Hindu-Aryan book Rig Veda, and it was performed by the god Mithra, who sacrificed the earthly bull in exchange for the heavenly bull, where he was forced to sacrifice and participate in the slaughter of Soma, the moon god, who is symbolized by the bull. As a result of Mithra's surrender to the pressure of the gods on him, the moon god was controlled in favor of the sun god. And we know that Mithraism, the male religion, sanctifies and worships the sun. The sun god appeared as the supreme dominant deity after the agricultural revolution, in which people abandoned the worship of the female goddess, the moon, meaning mistress of the universe, who was represented by the crescent formed in the form of the horns of a bull. Right? So, because he slaughtered the bull became his symbol. Okay, originally, the writer is telling us that originally the bull was the symbol of the moon, Soma. This is from the Rig Veda. The writer here tells us that from the Rig Veda, Mithra sacrificed the bull, or the moon deity, basically Soma. And his sacrifice marked the beginning of creation. So from the Hindu sources, he tells us that this sacrifice, this is similar to what we've seen from the Greeks. This is similar to what the Zoroastrians, as we're later going to see, tell us. And we're going to talk some more about Soma and the Hindus. Let's just continue reading for now. The male revolution occurred, and the patriarchal societies emerged after the victory of the sun god. The first thing that had to be done was to eliminate the heavenly bull, the sacred symbol of the goddess. The mother, with Mithra's control over the bull, the people who worshipped and sanctified the sun, the Aryan people, abandoned the worship of the moon and the worship of the Great Mother in favor of the sun, of which Mithra became the undisputed god. The Tauroctony is the most famous Mithraic symbol, a wall painting depicting the god Mithra about to slaughter the sacred bull. On both sides of the sculpture, the sun god appears on the right, alerting the ravens that he sends to Mithra and orders him to slaughter the bull. The moon god appears on the left. It seems that Mithra was hesitant to carry out the order, but at the moment of the bull's death a great miracle occurred. The white bull turned into the moon and Mithra's cloak into the dome of the sky, containing luminous planets and fixed stars. See that? So Mithra is the sky god, basically. Mithra turned into the sky, meaning he's a sky god, and he was trying to sacrifice the bull. From the bull's tail and blood sprang the first ears of wheat and grapes. One of the Mithraic hymens began with the phrase, "You redeemed us by shedding blood." Life on earth took shape, and night and moon, and day and night alternated. Night and day alternated. So the sun and the moon alternated. The seasons followed one another, and time was created. Now, I'm going to continue reading, but I just want to make one mention. This is how the pagans in Rome were able to accept Christianity. The Mithraic religion, the elements that you see in the Mithraic religion were adopted into Christianity. Okay? Christianity is not a Sabaic religion. It started as a Judean religion, as we're later I'm going to talk about this extensively. It started as a Judean religion, but later was converted. Some Sabaic elements were added to it, but I don't think it's a Sabaic religion, to be honest. But this sacrifice of the bull is similar to Jesus' sacrifice. So Jesus had to be elevated to the position of God, to the position of the sun god, right? So that the Sabaic doctrine or the Mithraic doctrine can take shape, can take form. Plato, the most famous Greek philosopher, agreed with Mithraism on the concept of human soul descending from heaven, passing through the seven heavens, and eventually taking over the body, and a man's duty is to liberate the divine part, that's the soul, from the shackles of the body, to purify it by passing it through the seven planets to reach the fixed, eternal, and unchanging world of stars. See that? Plato, for anyone who doesn't know who Plato is, this is the most famous Greek philosopher. This is like Einstein for the Arab population, for example, when they want to say something like genius. Do you think I'm a genius? Do you think I'm Einstein? Arabs would say, do you think I'm Plato? How would I know that? So this is, in my opinion, the most famous Greek philosopher out there. And he tells us, he agreed with Mithraism that the planets are purgatories, that the person has to pass through the seven planets in order to purify himself. The sacrifice of the bull predates the time of Zoroaster and was accompanied by practices such as drinking sacred herbs, to the point of intoxication, which Zoroaster abhorred and opposed. He asked his followers not to shed blood or kill innocent beings, but after his death the phenomenon of offering sacrifices returned to Zoroastrianism. The swastika, which is a Mithraic cross, it was a symbol of the ancient Aryan religion. Its inscriptions were found in the Yazidi regions, and it's among their sacred symbols. Okay. The festival of Kimaya, also known as the Feast of Assembly, meaning the greatest gathering with the gods or goddesses. This is the harvest festival of the god Mithra, known as Mithragan, or Mehragan. And Mehragan is actually the word for festival in Arabic. Its season is the autumn season, and its days extend for 7 days, starting from September 23rd to the 30th of October. It is the greatest of the festivals, the Day of Atonement, in which mercy and blessings descend, and from which they infer the nature of the coming year. It is a series of successive religious celebrations, all of which take place in the Lalish temple. Okay, so this is very interesting. The Kimaya festival goes back to the first sacrifice ritual of Shamshid and is derived from his name. He is the one who sacrificed the first bull and made people eat the meat of the sacrifice of the Holy Eucharist. It is named in the Pahlavi text the Jamshid. During the sacrifice of the bull, I just need 1 second. During the sacrifice of the bull, squeezed soma or homa plant and made intoxicating drinks from it. So Jamshid, during the sacrifice of the bull, squeezed the soma or homa plant and made intoxicating drinks from it. Soma, as we've previously said, is the moon god. Soma is the moon god. So the name of the drink, the sacred drink that the Hindus, they used to drink this. I don't think anyone still drinks it. But the name of this drink that marks the sacrifice of the bull is called Soma, right? Meaning the moon god. And made an intoxicating drink. During that, the clergy celebrated with religious dancing and special singing until the sacrifice was completed. The ritual performed for the immortality or renewal of life was called the sacred plant Soma Sehma. Water has now replaced the juice of Soma Homa among the Yazidis. The Mithraists continued to perform this ritual by offering the juice of the plant to the believers at banquets as a symbol of the God who grants immortality to the believers. The Romans replaced it with wine, and then it was transferred to the Zoroastrian priests who knew it by the name Homa. While reading the Avesta, they would crush it, mix it with water, and offer it as a sacred drink. So my note, we've previously said that the Soma is the moon god in Hinduism. It's also the name of the sacred drink that Hindus used to drink in their temples. Soma in ancient India, an unidentified plant that the juice of which was fundamentally an offering of the Vedic sacrifices. The stalks of the plant were pressed between stones and the juice was filtered through sheep's wool and then mixed with water and milk. After it was offered as a libation to the gods. The remainder of the Soma was consumed by the priests and the sacrificer. All of the religious dances performed by the Yazidi priests are Mithraic symbols. The sacred flame around which they circle is in the form of a sanjak topped by a peacock symbol of Mithra. The side torches are divided into 6 torches, representing the 6 gods, and the 7th is the large torch in the middle, representing the peacock of Melek Mithra. The 7 lights represent the 7 ancient Mithraic gods, and confirms that the 7 Yazidi gods are the deities of light, and they were originally the 7 Mithraic planets, and thus Yazidi's rotation around their deities is linked to the movement of the planets around the sun, a symbol of ancient Mithraic belief. From the Hindu sources, let's start talking about Soma. Rays of light at dawn are homologized to cows, meaning they're associated with cows, as in the Vala myth discussed above, and therefore the goddess Dawn is called the mother of cows, and images of ruddy cows overrun the hymens to dawn. Cows also have a ritual association. Milk is mixed with the soma juice after it is pressed, and so the soma hymens are filled with depictions of the soma as bull running toward or mixing with the cows. That is, the milk and cows are also homologized to waters, particularly the waters confined by Vritra, and released by Indra's killing of that demon. Vritra is a dragon demon associated with the sun as its avatar. I will be providing proof of this. So Vritra was a demon, was a dragon, okay? Just like the Mandaeans have a dragon called Ur, the Hindus have a demon, a dragon called Vritra. And Vritra was holding all of the waters of earth. He wouldn't let the waters reach the earth, okay? Indra, who is also a sun god, killed Vritra to release the waters of the earth. So let's go ahead and read this together. Though one characteristic of Soma in later texts, a commonplace already in Middle Vedic, is his identification with the moon. This equation is only attested in the very late Rig Veda. It is clearly found only in the wedding hymen, whose first verses depict the wedding of Soma and Surya, the sun god. See that? So the moon was married to the sun. The moon was married to the sun. In the Rig Veda, heaven as a divinity is generally paired with the female earth. So in the Rig Veda, heaven is paired with the female earth. And the heaven is the father and the earth is the mother, who's frequently referred to as mother. The earth is referred to as mother. With the two a complementary parental pair, if heaven and earth are the archetypal parents, who are their progeny? This is mentioned less than one might expect, but in a few hymens it is clearly stated that the gods and their children, and especially the sun. See that? So the gods are the children of the heaven and earth, most notably the sun. This is a trinity, right? We're looking at a trinity because the sun, is the most notable of these creations. A less beneficent aspect of heaven's fatherhood is found in a myth, obliquely but vividly referred to a few times in the Rig Veda, namely his rape of his own daughter. Heaven and earth also give shape to and encompass the cosmos, providing a safe enclosure within which life can flourish. The separation of the two to create this space is the primal cosmogonic moment, and Indra's accomplishment of this separation by propping them apart is endlessly celebrated. The next 4 verses treat the shocking story of heaven's incest with his daughter Dawn. Dawn, remember you guys, Dawn we've said is connected with the cows. Dawn is called the mother of the cows. And it's associated basically it's associated with Soma, the moon god, right? So the heaven committed incest with his daughter, and his daughter is the moon. Okay, this is a favorite myth of the Middle Vedic period, but nowhere is it as graphically, if fragmentarily, treated as it is here. She finally escapes, but before this happens, some of his semen spilled on the ground. Indeed, on the ritual ground. From this semen, the ritual fire is fashioned. Thus, through the rape of heaven's daughter, though the rape of heaven's daughter is depicted as brutal, it results in the creation of the central ritual substance. So notice what it says here. She escaped, but some of his semen fell on the ground. What does that mean? It fell on earth, right? I mean, the father is the heaven, and the daughter is the earth. So his semen fell on what? It fell on earth, you know? This is very similar to what we've read from the Greeks, from the Greek sources. The male body part, the private part of Uranus, fell into the earth, and out of it emerged Venus, Aphrodite. And it's similar to what the Mithraic religion tells us. You know, this is similar to Mithraism. They sacrificed the bull, and from the sacrifice, creation began. The sun god sacrificed the bull, and from this sacrifice, creation began. It results, though the rape of the heaven's daughter is depicted as brutal, it results in the creation of the central ritual substance, as so often around the world in the myths of cosmic rape and incest. The taboo of sexual encounter is primarily creative. In verse 11, the Mithraic motifs of the dawn cow and her milk, and of Agni, the product of heaven's semen. She brought together the motifs that are sacrificially found together in the dawn sacrifice. So the Agni, which is the product of this sacrifice, which is the product of this sort of intercourse, right? Agni is the fire. Agni is the sacred fire. And I believe it is the avatar of the sun. You know, the sacred fire has to be an avatar of the sun. Motifs of down sacrifice. With the patron put in his place, the hymen now turns to a depiction of the dawn sacrifice, or rather its conclusion, in 5 verses, each beginning with the word adha and now. Adha means sacrifice in Arabic. Eid al-Adha. I will declare the manly deeds of Indra. The first that he achieved, the thunder wielder. He slew the dragon, then disclosed the waters and cleft the channels of the mountain torrents. He slew the dragon lying on the mountain. His heavenly bolt of thunder, Tvastar fashioned, like rapid flow descending the waters, glided downward to the ocean. Impetuous as a bull, he chose the Soma, and in 3 sacred beakers drank the juices. Magavan grasped the thunder for his weapon, and smote to death this firstborn of the dragon. When Indra, though had slain the dragon's firstborn and overcame the charms of the enchanters, then giving life to sun, dawn, and heaven. See that? So Indra slew the dragon. He's referred to as a thunder god, right? The god of storms, perhaps. He's carrying the bolt of lightning, and he kills the dragon with it. And the dragon, as I've said, is an avatar of the sun. The dragon Vritra is an avatar of the sun. So Indra, who is Indra exactly? For him, Vritra the encompasser was originally a personification of cold and ice, a winter giant. Only the sun could be the antagonist of such a demon. Hence, Indra must have been originally a sun god. Indra and Vritra then represent the antithesis between summer sun and winter cold. Indra was transformed from a sun god into a storm god or simple rain god. Indra's original task was to free the waters from the clutch of the ice demon. His later development as a rain god was doubtless helped by his early connection with water. See that? So this dragon was sacrificed by Indra, the sun god, and this sacrifice brought about creation. The sacrifice of the dragon brought about creation. Because as soon as he killed the dragon, as soon as the dragon was sacrificed, the waters, which we've previously said the waters come from the moon, Shiva. The waters fell into the earth once he was killed. So the sun god, the spirit of the sun, made a sacrificed the dragon, also another spirit of the sun, an avatar of the sun, let's say. An avatar, not I prefer to use the word avatar, let's just say avatar. He slew the avatar of the sun, sacrificed him basically, and the moon, the waters, fell down into the earth and creation began, and the waters are associated with the moon, as we've said. Okay. Christianity between Sabaic and Judean theologies. The fluidity of Egyptian concepts and the tendency to synthesize divergent elements have led some Egyptologists to believe that the Egyptians were really monotheistic, that all gods were subsumed into a single god. In a moment, we shall present a text that would seem to be a prime document for this thesis of essential monotheism. But we wish to preface it by insisting that it is not a matter of a single God, but of single nature, of observed phenomena in the universe, with a clear possibility of exchange and substitution. With relation to gods and men, the Egyptians were monophysicists, many men and many gods, but all ultimately of one nature. The text we mentioned presents an ancient Egyptian trinity, three gods who were supremely important at one period of history, all taken up into a single divinity. The purpose was to enlarge the god Amun by incorporating the other two gods into his being. All gods are three, Amun, Ra, and Ptah, and they have no second. Amun is the name of this single being, Ra is his head, and Ptah is his body. Only he is Amun and Ra, and Ptah together, three. Three gods are one, and yet the Egyptian elsewhere insists on the separate identity of each of these three, just like the Christian Trinity. All gods are three, Amun, Ra, and Ptah, and there is no second to them. Hidden, Imen is his name as Amun. So he is Ra in face and his body is Ptah. Already at the beginning of this century, the editor of this text realized that this was a trinity as a unity, and the tension between singular and plural brings out the inherent dialectic, three gods, no second to them. But hidden, he is Ra. How the three gods mentioned here represent the pantheon will be immediately evident to the Egyptologist, for the hymens, which were written down and probably also composed during the early Ramesside period, have chosen immediately evident to have chosen in Amun, Ra, and Ptah the three gods whose real power, possession of temples, surpassed that of all other gods, with Amun far in the lead. It is also worth noting that the theology in question by no means occupied a vacuum, for Ra and Ptah had daughter sanctuaries in the complex of Karnak, Amun's main temple, so that the three gods were worshipped next door to one another. Moreover, we have already heard that texts addressed to Amun could be put up in the Ptah temple at Karnak. Finally, the Trinity as a unity of Amun, Ra, and Ptah, like that of Ptah, Ra, and not sure who this is, can be embodied in a fourth god, Apis. In the Ptolemaic Opet temple at Karnak, Thoth, the moon god, is praised as the twofold Great One, Lord Hermopolis. He is called the heart of Ra, and he is called the tongue of Ptah, the throat of the one with the hidden name Amun. This shows that this trinity was still important in a very late period. Notice how the moon god is associated with this trinity. The moon god seems to be part of this trinity. So we have Amun, we have Ptah, we have Ra. Amun is the hidden sun, his visible form is Ra. And then Ptah, who is Ptah exactly? The Memphite creation story was very old and complex. Ptah was the creator of the entire world, according to the Memphite priests. The Ennead of Heliopolis and other divinities were only manifestations of Ptah's creative powers. Ptah was the heart and the tongue, the seat of the intellect, and the weapon of creative power. As Atum spat out the gods in other creation tales, he did so at Ptah's command, the result of the will of Ptah. Sia was the power of understanding, and Hu was the creative force of Ptah's words. This cosmogonic theory was sophisticated and demanded a considerable amount of metaphysical awareness, something that defeated the cult from the beginning. Ptah was the creative principle, fashioning not only the world and human beings, but moral and ethical order. Ptah had not only made the other gods, but had instituted the formulas for their worship, offerings, rituals, and ceremonies. Ptah made the cities and the men and women who inhabited them, and he set up standards for personal and national behavior. The priests of Amun, understanding the need for a creation story that would provide their deity with rank and privileges above the other gods of Egypt, used the original concept of Amun as the air divinity of Hermopolis Magna. So Amun was associated with the sky. Amun is the air divinity, meaning, he's associated with the sky. Thebes became the first primeval mound, the original payland, the place of appearance of the watery chaos and the creation of all life. Amun created himself in Thebes, and all of the other gods were merely manifestations of him. He was Ptah, the lotus, and the octode. So I want to talk about Hu. Hu, the creative force of Ptah's word. Who is Hu exactly? Hu also appears in a squatting position with a knife in hand, and sometimes in the form of the Nile god Hapi, with no plants on top of his head, and also appears in the divine form with a cobra on his head. Besides the human form, Hu appears in the divine form with the head of a baboon, also with the head of a cow with two horns, with the solar disk in between. In addition, in a standing form with the head of a ram, with Amun's horns also with the head of a serpent. Of the several functions attested of Hu is his role in ritual scenes such as representation of a falcon belonging to a group of birds as messengers, and in connection with the sun god as Hu and Sia are behind Ra in the solar park. So Hu is connected with the Nile. He is represented with the head of a cow with two horns with a solar disk in between. Okay? And he is represented as a serpent, and he appears in the solar park. So he appears in a squatting position with a knife in hand. This is very interesting. Hu appears in a squatting position with a knife in hand. So let's go ahead and just a few pages ahead. Okay. Let's go ahead and start reading from the Thoth. See the highlighted part? I'm reading from the highlighted. Thoth and Seshat knew the future as well as the past. They inscribed a person's fate on the bricks on which their mothers gave birth. Right? And you read from another source. This is the final paragraph, line 2 of the final paragraph. Like the goddesses, Meshkenet and Renenutet, he occasionally took the form of a birth brick with a human head. These bricks were the supports on which women squatted to give birth. So Thoth, the Egyptian god, the moon god of Egypt, is the god of fate, and he is depicted with a brick next to a brick where a woman would be squatting to deliver her child, right? And he would maybe be next to her to write down her fate or the fate of her child. So this explains to us why Hu appears in a squatting position with a knife in hand. Who is Thoth? Who is Thoth that is waiting for a woman to deliver a child, right? So he can write down the child's fate. The woman is in a squatting position delivering the child, and Who is right next to her waiting to write down the fate of that child. And who is the moon god, Thoth? He's associated with the Nile god Hapi, and he has the head of a cow. Ra in heaven, according to the Egyptian myth, when Ra became too old and weary to reign on earth, the god Nun ordered Nut to turn herself into a cow and to raise the god up on her back. When the goddess lifted Ra above the earth, she became the sky, and Ra became the god of the heavens. The name Ra is simply the Egyptian word for the sun. And while the blazing solar orb was considered to be the visible body of Ra, it was also seen as his independent eye, giving rise to expressions such as Ra in the midst of his eye, through the eye. See that? So the Egyptians believed that the sun was the eye of God. The Egyptians originally viewed the sky as a female deity. It seems that they later made the modification to have the sky appear as a male solar deity, and the earth as a female mother. The later version definitely makes more sense. The sky god releases his semen, rain, impregnating the earth goddess and causing her to bear fruit. The sun god Ra was the supreme creator who emerged from the primeval waters at the beginning of time to create every aspect of the world. There were many versions of this myth, and the solar demiurge was envisaged as coming into being upon a mound or a lotus flower, rising from the waters in the form of a child, or a heron, falcon, a scarab beetle, or other creature. So the solar demiurge, sun god Ra, was envisaged as coming into being upon a lotus flower. From the Hindu sources, Vishnu was floating on the primeval waters. A lotus came out of his navel, from which Brahma emerged. So it's a slight alteration to the original story. The hidden sun emerged out of Vishnu. The creator God emerged out of Vishnu. On top of a lotus, just like the sun god Ra. Ra then went on to create all living things in a manner which varies according to different versions of this myth. In one story involving a play on words, Ra created man from his tears, which fell to the earth, while in another, the sun god cut his own phallus, possibly meaning circumcision, and the two deities Hu and Sia are said to have sprung from the drops of blood which fell into the earth. In all versions of the story, however, the sun god was who created the other deities and human beings, and in this guise Ra was called both father and mother of all living things. He made a sacrifice. The sun god Ra sacrificed his own private parts to bring about creation. Right? Similar to Uranus and Gaia, the earth. Uranus being the sky and Gaia being the earth. Uranus had his private part severed, it fell into the earth, and Aphrodite emerged. The same story appears here with the Egyptians. Ra severed his private parts, it fell into the earth, and Hu, the moon or Venus, emerged from his severed private part. As you can see, the sun god impregnates the earth. In doing so, he brings about creation, similar to Hinduism, Hellenism, Mithraism, and Zoroastrianism. He is depicted as a falcon, which is interesting because previously we saw that Hu is depicted as a serpent. And this probably explains to us the national symbol of the Egyptian Sabaic creed, the Trinity of the sun god Ra, falcon, the hidden sun god, Amun-Ra, solar globe, and Venus, the creative utterance, in the form of a serpent. So if you look at the image to the right, you're going to see the wings, the falcon, sun god Ra, and you're going to see the serpents, two serpents, on either side of the orb. This is Hu, Venus meaning, and at the very center you're going to see the hidden sun, Amun-Ra, the solar disk. Okay. Usually, Wadjet assumed the form of the erect cobra, with hood extended in the creature's pose of readiness to strike, and it is in this form that the goddess is represented as the Uraeus, which protected both kings and gods, and was often shown attached to the solar disk, even during the Amarna period, when the depiction of most non-solar deities was avoided or proscribed. The raised serpent is often shown seated along with the vulture Nekhbet on two baskets, an iconography known from the First Dynasty. Because of the connection between Wadjet and Nekhbet, some fusion of their iconographies took place, and the serpent Wadjet may be shown as a vulture or as a serpent with wings. As an eye of Ra, Wadjet can appear in fully Leonian forms and can thus also be depicted as a cobra with a lion's head. So if you look at this image on your right, actually let's just read this and then we'll get back to that. Her shrine was called Pernu, or House of Flame, and is attested from pre-dynastic times, eventually becoming representative of the local shrines in its region. Inlaid golden uraeus of Sinwasrit, representing Wadjet as the protective serpent who mythologically spat flames of fire against the king's enemies. Okay? So Hu and she has different names. But in this image on the right, you're going to see the falcon, sun god Ra, and on top of the sun god Ra, the solar orb representing Amun-Ra, the hidden sun, and wrapped around the solar orb is the snake, Hu, the snake of Hu, which apparently spits out fire to protect the deity. Similar to what dragons do. Dragons spit out fire and the Hu spits out fire. Okay, I think that's it for today. Next lecture we're going to go into more details about Christianity and the changes that might have been made to Christianity. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. One point that I'd like to make, I think, before moving on. We've said that Hu also appears as a cow. It appears with the head of a cow with two horns with a solar disk in between. This crescent shape, the head of the cow, the horns of the cow, form a crescent shape. And on top of that crescent shape, you have the sun god. You know what that looks like? It looks like a boat. It looks like the sun god is sitting inside of a boat. That crescent is the boat in which the sun god Ra is sitting. And this is similar to what we've read from the Hindus. Aditi, which is Venus, is the boat on which sun god Ra travels, isn't it? Aditi is the boat on which the sun god Ra travels because it forms a crescent. It forms a crescent, and we're seeing the same thing here with Hu. The horns of Hu, the horns of the cow, form a crescent, and that's the boat on which the sun god travels. Okay? I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. Definitely was a very interesting lecture. Come back for some more information. Till next time, thank you for watching.